The town of Neepawa held a public hearing for its 2024 financial plan on April 16th, in which it reviewed its accomplishments over the past year and introduced the budget priorities for the coming year. Residents might notice that the overall budget number is substantially different from the past year. That is because the town has removed the costs to complete the Park Lake remediation process, which was entirely funded by the Disaster Financial Assistance Fund. Because it totaled several $1,000,000, its presence was skewing the numbers by a substantial margin and making it more difficult to see where the average finance items are changing year over year. The proposed tax increase for 2024 is approximately 2%. Councillor Daryl Gerard, chair of the Finance Committee, says one of their goals was to stay under the national inflation rate. As of March 2024, which is the most recent data released by Statistics Canada, the national inflation rate is at 2.9%. Following is the town's financial plan overview, including the tax formula, grants to community organizations, 2024 capital purchases, and transfers to reserves.
Okay, so welcome to the April 16th public hearing for the 2024 financial plan. Resolution reads, be it resolved that we do now open the public hearing to present the financial plan for 2024, moved by Councillor Sisley, seconded by Councillor Nadeau. All in favor? Opposed? Carried. Okay, at this time, I will ask Jamie if she will go through the presentation for us.
Hello, we would like to thank everybody for coming to the Town of Neepawa's financial plan hearing. The intent of this presentation is to provide a general overview of the 2024 financial plan and to let you know that there will be an opportunity for questions following the presentation. Tonight's presentation will start with an overview of completed projects, then assessment, revenue and expenses, followed by the utilities and an explanation of the impact on the ratepayers. The Town of Neepawa's vision is to grow as a community of choice through enhanced organizational excellence while providing a safe community, being accountable and transparent, and engaging our residents and businesses to invest in our community. The financial plan is the tool that Neepawa uses to achieve these goals. In 2023, we completed the following projects. Construction of the new Neepawa Training Center, which is currently used to host the LPN course. Installation of a pool slide. Installed 2 viewing towers, one at Back 40 Bike Park and one at the Park Lake. Remediation of Park Lake was finally completed, which was required because of the 2020 flood damage. We installed 6 new columbariums at the cemetery. 2 sets of pickleball tennis courts were installed at Hillcrest Park, and various paving and patching was done around town. Assessment Services is responsible for all assessments in the province except for the City of Winnipeg. They followed the Municipal Assessment Act and use market value of sales in the area to determine your assessment. Reassessment happens every 2 years to keep current with market values and conditions so that assessment is fair and equitable to everyone. In Manitoba, there is a basic formula for calculating taxes. That formula has 3 parts: assessment, mill rate, and dollar levy requirement, or the tax levy. So by taking our assessment and multiplying it by the municipal mill rate, we can calculate the tax levy. Or another way to calculate it would be, we take what dollar amount we are required to maintain and improve services and divide that by the assessment, and it gives us the mill rate. This is how the municipality charges taxes. In Manitoba, only a portion of the total property assessment is subject to taxation. The province uses different portioning ratios for different types of properties. So for example, 45% is for a residential property, 26% is for farmland, and 65% is for commercial. So Neepawa would use 45% of your assessed value of your home times it by the mill rate to calculate the taxes payable. Neepawa's total assessment base is made up of 60% residential properties, 32% commercial properties, and 8% exempt properties, which are your churches, schools, and hospitals. For the year 2024, the total assessment applicable to the town of Neepawa equates to roughly $495 million. This reflects an increase from 2023 by about 3%. And since 2024 is not a reassessment year, the increase reflects new assessment. Taking into account the fact that taxes are only based on a portioned assessment, for Neepawa, 1 mill will now raise $232,268.39 in tax levy. Our municipal mill rate for the year is 22.86 and has increased 2% from 2023. The mill rate for the Beautiful Plains School Division has increased 5% to 10.62. The Educational Support Levy, which does not apply to residential taxpayers, has decreased by 0.15%. We have no control over these mill rates as they are set by the Province of Manitoba and the local school board. Your total property tax bill is made up of 67% municipal tax and 33% school tax, meaning only 67% of what you pay is going towards the town of Neepawa operations. To draw a more appropriate comparison for the next two charts, we have excluded the financial activity applicable to the full remediation of Park Lake under the Disaster Financial Assistance Program. Although the project flowed through our budget, it resulted in no cost to the taxpayers of Neepawa, as it was funded 100% through the 2020 Flood Disaster Program. By removing the flood remediation information from the charts, we can focus on what is specific to the taxpayers. Our budgeted municipal revenues for 2024 are around $9.5 million. The makeup of this revenue is broken down into property taxes, unconditional government transfers, conditional government transfers, reserve transferred in, permits, licenses, and fines, user fees and sale of goods, and other income. This year's total budgeted expenditures are around $9.5 million, which reflect a balanced budget when measured against the previous slides. Municipalities are required to balance their budgets annually. On a percentage basis, from greatest to least, our expenditures for 2024 consist of fiscal services, which is your debentures, bank fees, and capital; transportation services, which is public works, equipment repairs, snow, street lighting, and airport; health and welfare services, which is your cemetery and social assistance; protective services, which is your fire and police; general government services, which is your office, elected officials, insurance, and grants; reserve appropriations; recreation and culture, which is your swimming pool, parks, playgrounds, and library; environmental health, which is your garbage and recycling; economic development; environmental development, which is your planning and weed control; and allowance for tax assets. Public health and welfare services is seeing a larger increase in 2024, mostly because of the starting of construction of Hamilton Street between Broadway Avenue and the Industrial Park to service the new hospital. Council's approach as to which organizations are approved to receive grant funding has remained consistent over the years. Their decisions are guided by policy, and they measure each request against the established criteria to distribute over $161,000 worth of funding. In addition to supporting very important and worthy organizations, Council wanted to ensure equity and fairness to all taxpayers, even if a particular resident did not normally utilize the organization or facility. You will note in some instances, Council is taking the position of creating partners in the form of exchange of services in order to expand the use of the facility or program on a broader basis. The primary goal is to increase exposure for the organization and to create additional opportunities for those who may not otherwise access certain programs or services. Council has chosen a variety of recipients for grants this year and are thrilled to support these great organizations. Letters will be sent following the passing of the budget to each of the recipients that received a grant this year. This year's capital purchases, amounting to about $1.4 million, are as follows. Furniture and computer upgrades for $8,000, paving of the fire hall parking lot for $150,000, drainage and roadwork for $261,000, snowblower and auger for $11,000, cemetery project $150,000, road construction $769,000, a pool cleaner for $15,000, and a mower and a trail loop for $88,500. This year, Council will commit the following contributions to reserves: $15,000 to the general, $212,000 to building and land, $65,000 to the fire, $150,000 to public works and environment, $75,000 to recreation and culture, and $100,000 to healthcare facility. We've also budgeted to transfer monies from some of the other reserves into the general operating fund to help reduce the burden on the taxpayers for 2024. Now, on to the utility budget. Revenues for 2024 will equate to roughly $9 million and are made up of 26% from water bill income, 1% from hydrant rentals, 40% is other revenue such as the Water Services Board grants, and 33% is from reserve transfers to the utility. The utility expenditure makes up about $9 million. 15% is water treatment and supply, 3% is sewer collection and disposal, 76% is our capital projects, 1% is reserve allocations, and 5% is debt repayment. This year's capital purchases will amount to about $7 million and are as follows. Water meters for $10,000, development projects for $278,000, well mechanism and booster for $943,000, wastewater plant phase 2 for $1.3 million, Northeast Development water and sewer infrastructure for $3.5 million, and a vac truck for $755,000. Our utility water reserve is seeing a contribution of $100,000 with a withdrawal in 2024 to fund the installation of the water to the northeast corner of Neepawa, more specifically to service the new hospital. The utility sewer reserve is seeing a contribution of $12,000. So what does this mean to you, the taxpayer? Since this is not a reassessment year, the change in the municipal mill rate on a $250,000 home would cost $52.88, or a 2% increase from 2023.
Okay. Okay, any discussions about that? I guess we've all seen it enough times. But... Yeah.
I just have to comment. I mean, I think this year we started the budget process earlier. Historically, we would have started that process closer to January, where this year we got rolling through budget in November. We understood that Neepawa is facing unprecedented growth and investments happening in our community right now. And as a council, we wanted to make sure we were there to meet the challenges of these new investments that are coming, but also trying to make sure that we meet the ratepayer understanding new realities of costs and that are in the community. So trying to make sure that it was balanced between how we made those investments and the actual cost to ratepayers. Looking at staying within or under national inflation rates was important to us, and when we were looking at that, but also making sure that the investments we made didn't put residents at risk of large increases in future, because we were moving forward with projects that are still coming on the books over the next few years. So, and I really want to thank the administration team, because we tasked them and challenged them, and we know they went back multiple times trying to find ways to meet council with, I guess, what our expectations were and what our wants were for the residents. And I can't thank the administration team enough, whether it be through recreation, public works. Again, it was a total team project on behalf of the administration to just basically make sure that council could represent, we hope, what we think will work for the community.
Yeah, thanks, Daryl. That is the other, and like you said, like it's a balance between trying to keep taxes, within limits, and that we've heard some of the horror stories around Manitoba, and so I think this is a very palatable budget. But also look at what's been accomplished this past year as well in 2023, and wow, there's been a lot of work that's been done. It's almost mind-boggling when you look at the amount of work that's coming ahead of us as well. But so certainly, I think our residents will be able to support what we're trying to do here.
Maybe just to tack onto that, I think every one of us on council, we walk up and down the sidewalk, and we hear about the sidewalks and the roads. And when you take a look at this year, we're seeing substantial increases in that spend, trying to meet those community expectations. I know when we talk about repairing streets, was the street repaired if it wasn't in front of my house? I don't know. And that's how it's perceived. If it wasn't done in front of my house, streets weren't repaired. But we're trying to meet the residents as much as we can. Over the last few years, we've worked with innovative techniques like resurfacing areas where that top coat, trying to preserve the length of those areas and cover multiple blocks at a time. And then even what we see between new build, which is always a challenge when you have the new build, it takes away some of the dollars for the maintenance side of things. But again, we've met the community and we've increased the spend dramatically on road repair as well. And we hope we can start winning that battle again.
Yeah, and we're also, it's an uphill battle against increased costs. We look at the price of the vac truck. That's something that has just become crucial part of need for our public works. And when you look at the prices of replacing some of this equipment, it's not cheap. Not cheap. So again, thank you, and I guess we will. Owen, did you have any questions?
Just clarification here, having to go into the archives and look at a few things here. Just semantics here about some of the phrasing. Previous years, it's been listed as a general operating fund and a utility operating fund. Am I understanding this correct here in your report, that the utilities reserve or utilities capital, as it's defined as, that's essentially the utilities operating fund? Is that correct, or am I misdefining?
Yes.
Okay. All right. And in terms of general operating fund, previous years, I know that information has been given out usually during these types of meetings. And I think I may have missed it there. What is the general operating fund for the town of Neepawa this year?
You're looking at the total expenditures?
Yeah.
$9.5 million.
So essentially this, right, that's what I'm asking then.
Yeah.
It's, in previous years, it's been defined as general operating fund, the utility operating fund.
Yeah.
And this year, I just wanted to confirm that this 9.4, just for my edification, just is, in previous years, it would have been defined as the general operating fund.
Yes.
Okay, all right. No, I just wanted to make sure of that. I guess the next question I would have is, last year's general operating fund started at an estimated 19.292, and the utility was just over 8. this year it's 9.4 and 6.8. Both numbers lower than last year.
Well, just to clarify, you probably remember there was a slide where Jamie's narrative said that we excluded the DFA claim for the flood remediation for 2020.
Oh, okay.
So by taking that out, we gave you just town operations because we had to run all of those numbers through our budget. It was millions and millions of dollars. But it really has no bearing on trying to give you a comparison for year to year.
Yeah, just
that's the
scares the
clarification.
numbers too much, yeah.
Okay, that's the clarification I need, because if someone were to read that and to wonder, the numbers are lower, why am I paying more? Thank you for that clarification.
That number represented about $12 million.
Park Lake alone was almost 12 million.
That
And then
flowed
we
through the
had two
budget.
bridges and we had,
Yeah.
it was a big number for our
Golf
flood
course
remediation.
damage.
Okay,
Yeah.
thank you.
Okay. There is no other questions. Yes, we'll go with the resolution here. Be it resolved that we do now adjourn this public hearing at 6:20 p.m. Moved by Councillor Kostenchuk, seconded by Councillor Gerard. All in favor? Opposed? Carried.